this computer. Sweet deal. All right. So let's jump in. What we're talking about today is how to build a personal brand and break the chains of imposter syndrome. And listen, guys, it's 2024 right now, April of 2024, as of this recording. And what's happening and what you guys are already seeing is that as we move into the future, your social currency is going to have value. What does that mean? That means there's valuations in businesses all the time, right? When you're selling a business, they call it EBITDA, and it's the value of your business, how much it's valued, so that if somebody were to buy the business, that's how much you can expect when you sell. When you're thinking about your personal brand and people are starting, there's a lot of people starting to think about this, but it's not really adopted across, it hasn't been mass adoption yet. So you guys are perfect in a perfect spot to start building that personal brand so that you guys can increase that social currency. Okay. So what I want to talk today about is, first and foremost, let's talk about imposter syndrome, because what I want you guys to leave with today are actionable items that you can take with you to start this personal brand journey, because it is a journey. It's going to take time. And a lot of times what happens is we are hindering ourselves from moving forward because of trauma in our life. And the trauma, what happens is we start to create defense mechanisms, and we start to pile on the defenses. And what happens is we stop living authentically and we start living apologetically. And what I want to do is I want to start shedding all of that stuff and start understanding that who you are and what you offer is valuable. Your perspective matters, your opinion matters, and that there are people out there that could benefit from your help. And not in a manufactured way. I'm talking about in a way where things resonate with them. And that's what we're doing today. That's what we're talking about. And that's how what we start with is, what is the one thing, and how do we let your freak flag fly and really let people in on who you are? Because when you're authentic online, and you've seen it all the time and time again, the people that are making it, the people that have a lot of followers and influence and are true influencers, they've gotten to a point where they're irreverent, and they've gotten to a point where they're authentic. And so I want to make sure that when you guys leave this session today, you guys are thinking about, how am I living my authentic self, not just on camera, but in life and with relationships, and how we can take all of these things and really grow personally. And as a result, we'll grow financially, we'll grow your business, and we'll grow all of the other things that will come as a result of growing yourself and growing that personal brand. So today I'm not selling anything. I'm only giving away, at the end, I have some things to give away, and I'm just giving away information. So, take a load off, because I know most webinars are like, there's a call to action at the end. That's not this. So don't worry about that. We're not selling today. So there's a lot of misinformation about social media, about personal branding, about how to put yourself out there in the digital space. And people are noticing that it's becoming saturated. There's a lot of pray and spray methods in terms of how to create content. But what's happening is if you are not intentional about how you're creating the content from the development phase at the very beginning, what's going to happen is all of the content that you create is going to be flat. It's not going to resonate with anyone. And in turn, isn't really going to work. And that's what you're seeing a lot of right now, where you're seeing people going, well, this is really not working. Why am I spending so much time and energy? And I'm going to tell you, it's probably because you are not building your personal brand. You're trying to build your business brand. And that's cool too. I'm not saying that you shouldn't build your business brand. You should, but people are not going to follow a business, right? There's a reason why Nike hired Michael Jordan. If you guys haven't seen the movie Air yet, please do. But there's a reason why Michael Jordan was brought in, because it was it personified the brand. And that's what you have to think about your business in terms of personifying it through you. When people buy, sure, they're buying the services that you offer, but not necessarily, that's not the only reason that they're buying. Another reason that a huge reason why they're buying is because of you and the relationship that they're going to have with you. So think about that as we go through this information today. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to give you guys the keys to attract high quality clients. And I like to call this my content into client system. This is my 3-step process on how to create content, how to live authentically, creating a personal brand in order to overcome this imposter syndrome and grow a business, right? So, for me, I've been able to 10x my business in 2 years as a result of using this method. I've helped over 100 CEOs and visionaries find their voices. And, we actively work with, high figure business owners that are super successful because they're using our method. So a little bit about my backstory so that you guys are like, who is this dude and why am I listening to this guy? So meet 30-year-old Armando. Look, I was clueless. I was broke. I was an alcoholic. I was a pothead. I was broke. I was hard-headed. I knew it all. I was broke. Did I say I was broke? Declared bankruptcy, terrible with money. So that was me, right? And so my desire was, I wanted wealth. I wanted direction. I wanted stability. I wanted to make my family proud. I wanted to be confident in who I was. I wanted to have a kid, and I wanted to create impact. But what I was doing was not working. And because what I was doing was I was chasing tactics, I was chasing money, and I was chasing materials. And I wasn't necessarily thinking about who I was. And I went through a lot of shame growing up because I was always sort of that weird kid. I was always the kid that didn't do well in school, lived in a lot of shame. I think I had a not think, I know I had a 1.8 GPA. Barely scraped through high school. Did not go to. I went to college for a little bit, but didn't do well there. And it just was. I was living in this shame, and I became an actor. And I always felt good being an actor because I could put a mask on, right, through a character and not necessarily be judged by who I was because I was being a character. And so as a result of, sort of piling on these defense mechanisms, I just went from job to job and just searching and trying to find my way in a way that was not really serving me. And I noticed that I was banging my head against the wall a lot, hitting a lot of obstacles because what I was focused on was on the wrong thing. And so, when I went to LA to pursue my acting career, I did know that I didn't want to keep working in a job that I hated for the rest of my life. And I knew that I wanted to do something that was calling me. So there was something inside me that was like, look, I want to be a storyteller. I want to, I definitely want to help people and I want to tell my truth in the way that I know how. And so I came back to New Orleans, started a production company called Sketchy Characters Productions. Did a movie called Bourbon Whiz. It was super quirky and strange, and thought I was going to be a movie producer. I ended up selling my movie door to door, which actually launched me into my Leduc Entertainment business, where I rebranded in 2016. And I am going to bring up metrics in terms of how much I was making, just so that you guys can see where I was financially. So that you can also see that this didn't just happen for me, that I was given things. I really wasn't. I had to start from scratch, and we made negative $19,000 that year. So the villain in the story was me, right? I was uneducated. I was self-sabotaging. I blamed everyone but myself. I had no operating capital. And the biggest thing that I did that I believe was holding me back was not really living in my authentic self. And we talk about the Trojan horse effect, where, a lot of companies like do a lot of bait and switch, right? And what the bait and switch is, they'll get you in on one thing, and then on the outside, once they got you in, they'll switch it up, and it feels the tactic is really bad. And look, I did it. I did it a lot. And I didn't, and I pissed off a lot of people in the process. And so I didn't want to continue doing that. And so 2019 hits. I had a baby on the way. It was COVID. I was a one-man show. I think I had brought the company up to 19,000 in revenue. That that year. I was mounting debt. I was broke, had depression, anxiety. Things weren't working out. I was just off kilter and struggling. And so, a, you know, a mentor of mine who I went to high school with saw a social media post of what I was doing in terms of like video production. I brought him onto my podcast that it wasn't really a podcast. I just wanted to like interview him about how he was able to help people. And he ends up hiring me to come and shoot content for his company. And what I mean by that is like we spend one day a month with him and we created, 50 to 100 pieces of content. And so what I noticed was I started seeing the people that he was working with, and they were going from like 700K in revenue to 2.4 million in 6 months. Charlotte went from 60K to 800K in less than 3 years. And then he's been able to grow his company and his law firm. And I was like, man, okay, success leaves clues. I'm obviously not doing the right things. And he mentored me and he said, Armando, the biggest problem you have is what's going on in here, which I didn't know at the time. And the limiting beliefs that I had because of how I grew up and what my vision about money was and flow and, just living my, inauthentic self and all of that. I had to make a decision. And so what I decided was I decided that I wanted to get mentorship from him at the cost of $2,500 a month, which was a lot at the time. But what I noticed was if all of these other people are experiencing growth and they're scaling their business, then why couldn't I do that too? And so had the epiphany of, okay, what is the through line of all of these businesses and how are they doing it? And I started reading books and going to conferences, and we created a system and a strategy that we started using about a year ago. And as a result of using this system, we've scaled the company like extremely fast. But more importantly, our retention for our employees has gone up, referrals have gone up, and we're a lot happier. As a visionary and CEO of my company, I am able to do things like this webinar where I'm able to give back because I have a team that I trust. We have operations in place and things are going really well. And I'm not here. I don't want this to sound braggy. I'm only sharing this information because I know that it's possible for you as well. So let's talk about the strategies, right? So you have content for your customer journey, and you have a podcast, and you have social media content. And I'm going to talk about how all of these things will play into what you're going to do for your personal brand in order to help your business and in order to experience financial freedom and have happier life. And look, my results from doing this is I've had over 130 plus episodes on my podcast. I've had some amazing people come on. I just interviewed Gino Wickman, the writer of Traction and Rocket Fuel. And if you guys know EOS, he created EOS. He was on my podcast. And as a result of bringing him on my podcast, my social currency went up another level. And now opportunities are starting to arise just from having that interaction. So, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about how you guys can 10x instead of 2x, which is based on that book by Dan Sullivan. So I also get invited to exclusive events, and I continue to grow my business. And if everything goes the way it's going, we'll probably hit 2 million in revenue this year. Once again, I'm not here this is not a bragging thing. This is just information for you. People that we've worked with, Craig Green, he's an orthopedic surgeon out of Baton Rouge. Work injury rights. They're a law firm out of Fort Lauderdale, Haunted History Tours. They live here in New Orleans. Amazing tour company. But they use our method and they're able to grow as a result, and reach out to them if you'd like. So external achievements. If you guys have seen me on my social media, you know that I got to sing at the Superdome last year. And that's because somebody saw a post of me singing on social media, and they needed a Latin singer. They invited me. I get to go on vacations, predictable income every month, circle of influence has grown, and then within the inside, I'm happiest I've ever been. I live in gratitude every day. I'm super confident in what I'm doing these days. I see the world very differently, and been able to increase my friendships and really impact people's lives. So let's go into the secrets: content for customer journey, podcasting, and content for social media. So let's talk about your customer journey. What is the customer journey and why do you need it? Everybody that you help, hopefully when you started your business, it's because you wanted to help somebody. And businesses do three things. They either make you money, save you money, or they mitigate risk. And so hopefully when you were creating your business plan and your vision and mission core values, you had an idea of how you wanted to help people. Now, a lot of business owners, they sort of glaze over this customer journey. And I urge you to really make that the forefront, like when you watch this and you're thinking about what is it that I really need to start doing right now, I would really recommend you sit down and you map out what your customer journey looks like. And let's talk about what that means, right? So I'm gonna give you guys just a little quick backstory about how I started to implement my customer journey and why I did. So we were scaling fast. You know, our operations were out of whack. We didn't understand how to fulfill the deliverables in a scaling way. You know, quality went down. We lost $30,000 a month in revenue, like within a day. We couldn't get our clients to pay their invoices. We were getting bad reviews. We were getting angry clients. And so I had two choices at that point. I could fire everybody on staff, streamline it down, or I could figure out why is it that people were leaving in droves and what those reasons were. And they were saying, Armando, look, your product is okay, but we don't know what we're paying for. We don't know what we're doing. We don't, you're trying to ask for money all the time, but it's never really like educating us on what it is that we're supposed to be doing and why we're supposed to be doing the things that we're doing. And so I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. Let me sit down and let me think about all of the different touch points from when somebody sees us, either social media or our podcast or social media ads or whatever, however they find us, our marketing channels. And then how are we having meetings with them from the point to when they call us to the point where we convert. And so I don't know what your sales cycle is. Sometimes could be a month. Some sales cycles are like 6 months. How are you staying in contact with your prospects in a way that's meaningful, that educates them, and that keeps you top of mind? And if you don't have that mapped out, I'm telling you right now, you're losing money. You're losing a lot of money. And so sales are made in the follow-up. And if you don't have a follow-up strategy in place, this is where a lot of businesses are not maximizing how they convert, nor do they know what the analytics are on the conversion. So how many people are coming in on a monthly basis, right? And are you tracking that from when they find out about you to conversion? And what's the ratio? Out of everybody that's contacting you, how many people are contacting you from this marketing channel, from that marketing channel, from that marketing channel? And then is everybody going through a pipeline? Because here's another thing, and I know I'm getting into the weeds and I kind of want to stay high level, but if you guys aren't thinking about what your flagship offer is, like what is the thing that makes you the most money, and then that being the thing that you put out there, that's what you really need to start thinking about, because most businesses out there are going, well, we do this and we do that and we do this and we do that. And they've got this menu of items that they're trying to force down somebody's throat that doesn't really know about your business. And now they're getting fed a fire hose of information. They're confused. They're not going to buy, right? Because they're confused. There's too many options. So what I would recommend is figure out that one thing that you guys do extremely, extremely well, get them in there on that one pipeline, and then you can always upsell from there, and making sure that your CRM has all of the videos in place on those particular touch points so that you can convert easier. And so people are like, well, Armando, how can I create our fast ROI? So, well, if you want to create fast ROI, you've got to make sure that your customer journey is ironclad from beginning to end, because people are going to go on a journey into your business, whether you design it or not. Hopefully you design it. You should design it. It should be intentional. So you got your prospect journey, right? And then when they buy from you, you have your customer journey. And I want you to think about your like the Domino's pizza tracker. which genius, right? They let you know, hey, we're making your pizza. Hey, it's in the oven. Hey, we're cutting it. Hey, we're boxing it. Hey, it's on its way to you, and this is how long it's going to take. So more and more businesses are starting to adopt this model. They're like, we need to let our people know what the Domino's pizza tracker is for our company. Now, here's where I turn it on its head a little bit. Sure, let them know where they are in the delivery, right? In where they are in that process in terms of what you're delivering to the client. However, here's something else that you need to bring to those touch points. And the thing that really changed the game for us, I was having problems in my marriage. I reread the book, The 5 Love Languages, and I said, why can't we take those touch points, right, from the 5 love languages, and why can't we infuse that into the customer journey, right? Not just customer journey, but lead journey. In terms of how can we reach out to our clients in a way where it's meaningful to them and they're going to feel like they're appreciated on a different level, right? Acts of service, gift giving, quality time, touch, words of affirmation, and being intentional. So we've got Go High Level as our CRM, but you can do it in Keep, you can do it in HubSpot, whatever. Map out the pipeline, and your pipeline should include, yes, a video on where they are in the process, but then they should also include, hey, reach out to them and give them active service. What is that? Send them a referral. Give them a review on Google. Send them gifts from time to time. We try to send out about 7 direct mail pieces a year. Anything from, candy to popcorn to movie posters to whatever. So gift giving, quality time, going on golf outings, think about concerts, things like that. Touch, I'm going to tell you, there are clients of mine that love to hug, right? Not everybody, but if they like to hug, I hug it out. Right. And then words of affirmation. Easy way to create words of affirmation is interact with their social media content. So if they put a video out, oh, amazing piece of content. Love what you said here. Interact with it, share it, save it, send it to somebody. So those are all, when we started doing that, we started noticing uptick in referrals, uptick in revenue, uptick in just an incredible customer experience. So the results, like I said, we increased our revenue by 35%. We've got 70 plus Google reviews. We don't have to chase money down. Our clients are happier. Customer retention is higher, and then referrals have been going up as well. So case study with Lewis Scott. Now, a lot of people, they lack confidence when they first get started, and that is totally okay. We talked about this at the very beginning, overcoming imposter syndrome. He ended up doing it anyway. And as a result, I mean, he's just more than him increasing his revenue, which is awesome, but the impact that he's been able to have on his clients and the people that he's worked with has been nothing short but amazing. The ripple effect and impact that he's having in this world from now until like 20, 30, 40 years from now, I mean, it's exponential in terms of impact. Time constraints he had a problem with, but I always recommend batch creating the content, right? 1 day a month. You can record 1 day a month. And if you get it down, 150, 200 pieces of content you can do in a day, and then volume of content was his other problem. But like I said, when you batch create the content, you can make that happen. Like I said, 150 to 200 pieces of content a day in that batch. So let's roll into secret number 2. Secret number 2, podcasting. And you're going to say, Armando, everybody has a podcast and it's getting super saturated. And who's going to watch my podcast and blah, 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 blah. Do it anyway, because here's the deal. Business is about relationships. And if you haven't figured that out yet, let me be the first to tell you, business is about relationships. And so if you guys aren't thinking about how you can create relationships, then you're not thinking about business. And for us, it has been revolutionary in terms of me creating my podcast because of that social currency that I'm talking about, right? Borrowing other people's social currency because they're coming onto your podcast. You're also interviewing people and giving them a platform for them to talk about themselves. You're deepening relationships. It's a way for you to create content. It's a way for you to stay consistent, you know? And I've been using my podcast as a relationship building tool since the beginning. And I'm telling you right now, the opportunities that have come as a result of me having my podcast have been exponential. And I'm not saying that as a cliche. I am really telling you that one client, one person that I brought on my podcast has brought me around $300,000 worth of business. And that's because I brought him on my podcast. We started talking. We're like, wow, we really gel. You really understand me. I really understand you. Well, let's start doing business together. We created a strategic partnership and boom, we were off to the races. So if you guys want to think about how can I 10X my business? Podcast. Because what you want to do is, like I said, you want to borrow social currency. And podcasting is an easy way for you to borrow social currency from somebody else. Because if you have somebody that has high social currency and they're on your podcast, immediately your social currency goes up. It's just that simple, right? And so let me talk about the podcast real quick. As far as why it didn't work when I first tried it, right? Because we were dabbling in it, had no direction, we weren't consistent, and we didn't distribute it correctly. And so I also felt like it was a waste of time, felt like our market was saturated, didn't feel like my opinion mattered, and I had no strategy. And then I had a conversation with Denver Gray about it. And he told me, look, consistency is more powerful than quality, and consistency is more powerful than the starting and stopping. And so nobody was going to listen to my podcast at first, which is great for me to hear, because I then that like sort of let go of the expectations, right? I didn't have any expectations. And so therefore I could create without expectation, and so it was amazing. We created this podcast for profit strategy, and we pick one day a month. We record all of the podcasts. I use Riverside as my software for virtual podcasts. I put it on podcasters on Spotify, and it goes out to Apple Music, Spotify, Live, iHeartRadio, all of those different things. On my email list. Now, here's a very interesting statistic, is we have a 65 to 70% open rate on all of our emails, and we were able to collaborate with our guests. The posts are getting at least 61% more on new engagement when you are able to connect with somebody else. And then you can post these trailers online for social media content. We have over 200,000 listeners across all platforms, over 100,000 plays. We're in the top 5% of podcasts globally. And look, it doesn't start out that way. Mine didn't start out that way. We got to that point with consistency, and you can too. I promise. I promise. Listen to me. If you're not listening, please listen. Take notes. Do a podcast. Start like next week. Don't overthink it. Create it. Start working on it, right? So that you can get the bugs out, so you can get, that imposter syndrome out. And then strategy can come a little bit later. Okay. This is another case study of a friend of mine, Brett, who has a web design company, and I'll send you guys this this slide deck from Canva so you can see the videos. This is a nice little testimonial. He didn't think social media worked, had lack of resources, fear of failure, and I said, "Look, Brett, if we start working together, I'll transform your business." And as a result, I think we tripled his business within 6 months. So, rolling on to secret number 3, social media content. And how are we using social media content in order to get that authority, credibility, and trust? Now, when we think about why is it that people follow us? Why is it that people do business with us? We have to think about that authority, credibility, and trust, because when you do the sales process and you get to the end and it goes, "Hey, I'm ready to ask you for the money." What they're thinking is this person credible? Do I believe that that what they're offering me is going to actually get me the result? That's that authority, credibility, and trust, right? And what your social media content should be doing for you is doing all of the pre-selling. It should be building that credibility and trust, building that your pipeline of people that actually get you, not people that, and I know you've worked with I know you've worked with clients that you just don't want to work with because we're in scarcity mindset, because we're in lack, and because we're all like, well, I need to get anybody I can. When you get to a point where you are letting your freak flag fly and you're creating this personal brand and people are resonating with you because of who you are, then you're going to start attracting people that you want to work with and that get you. And that is a beautiful thing. It makes life so easy. And then you're in flow. And so you can then at those points say, look, we're not a good fit. And that's okay. No, nothing personal. It's just that this is what we offer and this is what we do. And if you like this, then great. If you don't like this, then that's cool too. I'm not trying to be everything to everybody. And it took me a long time to understand that concept when somebody was like, you can't be everything to everybody. You can't sell to everybody. And I was like, why not? We totally can. But I didn't understand it until I put it into the frame of my personal brand and what I'm here to do and what my one thing is and what lights me up. And when I start thinking about the things that light me up inside, and when I start thinking about the things that resonate with me and the things that I want to share, I start to get excited. I start to come from a different place. And so, and you can tell, you can watch these webinars from, 6 months to a year ago when I was doing them, and they're so different than they are now, because now where I'm coming from is a place of resonance for me, and sort of a high vibrational frequency where I feel what I'm telling you. I'm not just giving you guys lip service. I'm actually living and feeling and working in the things that matter to me and the things that light me up. And that's what I want you guys to take. The biggest takeaway too here is to figure out what those things are that light you up, that you can take with you, and then you can amplify that. And I promise you, there's an audience that's craving for that information from you specifically, but you won't be able to do it unless you're still hung up on your imposter syndrome and you're still hung up on all of the defense mechanisms that you have in place that are stopping you from living your authentic self and living unapologetically. And this also doesn't happen by hoping and wishing and praying. This happens as a result of taking action and actually creating content. Because as you create content, that action will create the confidence, will create the reinforcement of who you say you are. What does that mean? That means that if I'm creating content on a monthly basis where I'm saying, hey, this is how I help, these are the case studies that of the people that I have helped. This is my truth. This is my authentic self. This is how I help. And you're doing that on a monthly basis. The action of creating that content on a regular basis will reinforce that message, not just with the people that you're talking to, but within yourself. So think about that when you're creating this content. And now when you're creating content, it's a lot more powerful. It's going to resonate so much harder when you're coming from that place than from a place of, I need to create content so that I can make money, which 90% of the people out there, and what is it? 90% of all statistics are made up on the spot. But I will tell you, a lot of businesses out there, because I work with a lot of businesses, are only focused on creating content with the expectation of me selling somebody. And if you're creating content because you want to sell someone, then the people can sniff that out. I don't care if you're putting it together as a result of, oh, I want to send this content out, and it's a way for me to express myself, but in the back of my mind, I'm going to create this content because the call to action is going to be this, and that's going to be able to grow my business. And I say to you, let's X that out, because you're not going to get the engagement that you want. If you really want the engagement, I want you to think about what lights me up. That's first and foremost. What is the thing that I want to talk about? And it could be whatever. And Gary Vee talks about it too. That's why he talked about wine. You can talk about basketball. You talk about football. You talk about soccer. You can talk about movies. You could talk about travel, relationships, business, aliens, like whatever, whatever it is that you want to talk about, you can talk about. And here's the thing. Now you start talking about that, people start finding you. And a lot of business owners are like, how is that going to get me more money? That's the one thing when I'm talking to prospects and I'm talking to my clients about them living their truth and living their authentic life, they go, how is this going to make me money, Armando? And I'm like, you missed it. You missed the point. Once again, you're off into ROI land, right? You're off into how is this going to make me money? And that's the complete disconnect because people want to interact with you authentically. What are you into? Right? And you're going to find your tribe and you're going to find people that want to work with you because of who you are and not because of the content that you create in order to create the ROI. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Because it's a lot to unpack because what I'm doing here is I'm kind of flipping, I'm flipping the marketing angle and I'm flipping branding and I'm flipping all of this stuff on its head because everybody is too concerned with, and I'm not saying that they're too concerned with analytics and data. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be concerned with analytics and data. Don't get me wrong. I'm telling you that if that is all you're focused on, you're missing the point. Because when you're building your personal brand, it isn't about ROI. It is about you living your truth. It's about you living what's authentic to you and how you interact with the world. And in that same space, people are just gonna gravitate to you. It's just gonna be so powerful that it's going to be a light that attracts people. And you're going to be this lighthouse for those people that want to hear what you have to say and also want to work with you. I promise you it will happen if you make that the focus. Okay. So problem was for us, we were posting daily, posting consistently, right? But we didn't know what to post. We didn't know how to post it. And then we went to these social media marketing worlds and I was reading books and consultations, and then we figured out, okay, how do we create this content in a way that's easy? Right. And so we started batch creating the content from our 5-step approach, which is development. So we sit down, we figure out what our one thing is, what lights us up. Right. Then we write out what our podcasting titles are. We figure out like if we were going to write a book, what that book title is. If we were going to do a public speech, what that public speech is, and then we can create all of the content around that. Right. Then when we do the podcast, when we bring people onto the podcast, we're talking about that. Right. We're talking about the thing that lights us up. Right. Then when we create content, we're creating content around the things that light us up. And so things that you can think about when you're posting, make sure it's vertical videos for now. Easy content is Q&A. Look up what lights you up. And I promise you there is a ton of information and questions you can pull from that one thing. Right? Post fun and engaging content. Make sure that you're staying on brand. Sticky headlines is good. Listicles is fun too. Listicles are things that top 5 places to get a burger, top 5 places to go out, top 5 things to do, like within that one thing that you want to talk about. History ofs are fun too. You can always talk about the history of that one thing, like if you want to talk about aliens, where did aliens come from? Our people, what do they think that it is? And blah, 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 blah. Cause I have some clients that are super into aliens, but they don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, man, y'all are so pumped about it, but y'all should totally be talking about it. But I'm not on their journey. They're on their own journey. So, but I say let your freak flag fly. And then, make sure that you plan your calendar ahead of time so that when you get to that content shoot day, it's all right there. And then you just go bop, 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 bop. You have all of the content, you roll into editing, you edit these videos, and then you post them on social media and you're rolling, right? As a result, we have a steady stream of leads daily. We get more referrals. Messaging stays fresh and consistent. So if something changes in your business, you're keeping people updated real time. And we've launched our PR firm we're rebranding here in the next few months, where we're moving to Leduc Agency and not Leduc Entertainment, because what we found is that as I'm going through this journey of what lights me up, I wanted to feel like I am helping entrepreneurs and I'm helping visionaries find their voice, break through the chains of imposter syndrome, so that we can amplify their voice and then they can go out there and they can impact the world. And that's our vision for this business, right? So case study, William Harrow, hated social media, hated creating content. He was unclear about what this ROI was. When we went through it, and I was like, look, man, it's not really, don't think about when you're creating your personal brand where it's about ROI. It's about living your truth. It's about living your authentic self. Right. And I'm going to leave you guys with this story and then we can go into Q&A. But here's a story of Rockefeller and how borrowing somebody else's social currency can affect you and can affect your business and really can 10x instead of 2x your business. So, and your growth personally. So Rockefeller, back in the day, somebody said, hey, I want to borrow $100,000. And he said, no, I'm not going to let you borrow 100,000, but what I will do is I'm going to walk up and down the stock exchange with my arm around you. And as a result, at the end of the day, everybody's going to want to loan you the money. And it happened, right? Because he borrowed the social currency. So when you guys are thinking about how are we gonna increase our social currency? What is the value of our personal brand? This is all contingent upon you living your authentic life, you figuring out what lights you up. Your customer journey is going to be an amazing way to connect with prospects, leads, and referral partners. Your podcast is going to be great for leads, clients, and referral partners. And then the organic social media is going to help with your authority, credibility, and trust. And when you put all of those three things together, you're just going to grow exponentially and your impact is going to be huge. So this is my offer for you guys today. Email us back if you guys are interested. I'll give you access to my Facebook group, access to the webinar slide for today. I'm going to give you access to our How to Pick a Profitable Niche workbook based on the thing that lights you up, right? Access how to choose your brand colors, access to my customer journey mapping worksheet. And then if you email us and you say, hey, what's this cool offer that you have? I'll let you know what that cool offer is, because it's free, but it's cool. But hit us up and I'll let you know. So that is my webinar for today. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to open it up to Q&A.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, the chat is disabled. So if you have a question, throw it in the Q&A and we'll get to you.
Thank you for the information. According to your experience, what kind of content could be more attractive for the people? I am starting my brand about metallurgy and started a podcast. I recorded my first video last Tuesday with an expert in the area, but I would like to influence and wake up the interest about the field in Latin America. So can we bring Anna on? Can we bring her up so I can ask her some questions? Okay, there we go. Hey, Anna.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So talk to me a little bit about what you mean and maybe go into a little bit about your brand of metallurgy and what you're trying to create.
Yeah, I am trying to give more kind of information because metallurgy or material science in Latin America or in Spanish is not like a big as here in United States. So I am starting my brand in that kind of field. I am an expert in that area. So, but I would like to do like a really easy way to understand. So my question is more like what kind of content could be more attractive for the people, like a more conversation or more like a kind of educational. So just in a way that people for the industry and as well people in the academia could be more connected.
So I love a podcast platform, when people are having a conversation with you and maybe another expert or you with another expert within that field. having a conversation, and I would go into, okay, the metallurgy, right? Why is it that you love this? Like, what's the answer to that? Why do you want to talk about metallurgy?
Oh, well, because I guess, well, first, I really enjoy that field. I really love on that field. And as well, because in Mexico, there is a lot of, it's not a lot of people in that field, but we need more people in that field. We have a lot of industries there about steel making, about forging, about heat treatment, but it's a league of people who, and also as well, a league of students who chose that kind of engineer. And that could help to grow up the economy in Mexico if we have better personnel or more prepared personnel in that field. So I really trust that it could be a good opportunity for the industry in Mexico can grow up, and as well better quality of life, better service as well. So it's more just not only like a something that I love to do because I am trying to do training courses online, but as well it's a good way to help for better life of people in Mexico.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying. So this is, if I was in your shoes, what I would do. I would write down who who the who the target audience is, right? Is it students? Is it and if they are students, what age range? What colleges are they going to? Is it teachers, right? Like, who am I talking to when I'm creating the content? That's what I want to know, So I would write down who my target audience is in terms of who I want to talk to. Then I would go in and go, okay, who are the people that are in places of influence and other influencers and people that are already in spaces that if they open the door for me, all of a sudden I have access to hundreds of people or thousands of people, right? Instead of going one by one. So number one, I would go, who are the people that I'm working with? Who are the people that I want to target with my message? Then I would roll into who are my sort of strategic partners within this. Then I would create the podcast around, this metallurgy, um and then maybe add in a little bit of the why you're trying to do it, right? You want to increase the following of who's involved in it, um, because of the greater good for Mexico and what that could mean, and for the economy and just growing that, because you're noticing that there's a lot of opportunity, right? And so then you could go ahead. Then I would start thinking about, okay, what are the things that are trending right now? AI is trending. Economies are trending, things like that. So how could you take that metallurgy idea and then pit it against like AI, or pit it against the economy, and pit it against things that like you're like metallurgy versus AI, metallurgy versus, the economy, and like why this is important, and where the opportunity is for people, right? Because if you can start showing people opportunity and hope, people are going to latch onto that, right? Because there's so much negative in the world right now. So if you can show like sort of the positivity and why this matters, people are going to get on board. So that's what I would do if I was you. Does that
Okay,
make
thank
sense?
you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Cool. Sweet deal. Laroya, I'm starting my online website. Do you think doing review podcasts would be beneficial? Tell me what that means in terms of doing a review podcast. What's your online business?
So basically, I want to do a active wear online business. So I'm saying, like, should I go around to different gyms and ask them, hey, about how do you feel in your active wear? That are, what do you expect when you put on your active wear? So should I go around and do a podcast in that form to apply to my website or to apply to when I'm promoting?
Okay, so let me I'm gonna ask some clarifying questions, make sure I understand. So you have a business that's selling activewear?
Yeah, like workout clothes.
Awesome. Okay, and is this are you drop shipping, or is this
Yeah, so
clothes that
basically, so I'm sorry. So basically, yeah, it's gonna be drop shipping. Eventually I'm gonna get into making my own brand of clothes with my logo. So, but I'm not launching this business until actually next year.
okay. So what lights you up, Leroya?
So just being around people, being able to communicate with people. I used to be a very social person, so now I'm just coming out my shell of not being so social anymore.
Okay.
So I like just being around people, having fun, engaging with people. You know, health is definitely my number one priority at this moment. So just health and just living and being peaceful and having fun.
Cool. Then what I would do is I would start working on what is Leroya's personal brand first before you
Okay.
start thinking about start thinking about you first before you start thinking about the brand and the business. Because when we figure out who you are, then and people are attracted to you and what you're doing, then you selling the activewear is going to be easy. So
Right.
what I would think about is, okay, what do I like? What do I really want to talk about? What are things that I feel like I could talk about at length? And then how can I bring people on my podcast to talk about those things
Right.
in order to start the process of creating content, living that authentic life, right? And then you can drop the tactics, drop the things that you do as part of the content, right? Because if that's something that you do, then of course talk about it, right? But don't make
Right.
that the sole focus. Does that make sense?
Ra mẹ
Right.
bỏ dầu
Understood.
giùm 95
Thank
đồng của
you.
nhỏ này.
All right. Awesome. Okay, cool. What would you suggest if a person is not computer savvy, but I believe I'm supposed to create content? What I would say is, hold on 1 second. So what I would say to that, when you're thinking about if I'm not computer savvy, there's people out there that are. I would venture to say, hey, who can I, learn from? Who can I associate myself with that might be able to help me in that department? And Fiverr, Fiverr, are really good people that you can reach out to help you with what it is that you need and what you want. So yeah, I don't think you need to be computer savvy in order to create content, especially nowadays with the phone. Like it's super easy to create content on your phone. Matthew, I'm in real estate in Indiana, just got started, would love to dominate this market. No money, no experience. So my podcast is going to be about the journey of an investor and real estate agents working together. How can I add value to my viewers? I want to work with investors and homeowners looking to sell quickly for cash. Right on. All right. So, Matthew, I want you to think about it this way. The perspective isn't how do I dominate my market, right? Because dominating your market is impossible. Even the people at the very top of your market, like the top part, there is no way they could handle all of the business. That's why there's so many real estate agents, right? So let's maybe ask a different question, right? In what lights you up, number one, right? Real estate is what you do. It's not who you are, right? And a lot of people, they base what they do on who they are. And so when they lose their job or they sell it or something happens or they go bankrupt, they then, because they've associated themselves with what they do so much, that they go into an identity crisis, right? So I want you guys to start thinking about not what you do as who you are, right? What you do is just what you do. Who you are is who you are. And so that's the conversation we need to be having. So let's talk about why you joined real estate to begin with, right? What is it that why is it that you started real estate? And is it because you just want money? If that's the case, there's thousands of other ways you can make money, but why real estate specifically? Right. And when you start asking those questions, now we start figuring out, okay, what is the thing that is driving me? What was the call to like get into real estate? What about it do you like? Right. And what part of the real estate business do you like? Do you like the showing of the properties? Do you like the sales aspect? Do you like educating people through how to buy a house? Do you like selling houses better than you like buying houses? Are you in the investment space? Do you want to connect with mortgage lenders? Do you want to connect with other real estate people? So when you start asking your question, ask those questions first, right? To figure out like, what is that one thing that I want to talk about? Because then once we figure out that one thing, we can create the podcast surrounding that one thing. And then you can bring in your referral partners, mortgage lenders, other real estate investors, construction companies, roofers, lawn care providers, all those home-based businesses, right? And then if you want to dominate the market, which I'm going to say that it's just you being super successful, right? Like you will be extremely successful if you're living in your truth authentically, right? And figuring out that one thing, creating the podcast around that one thing, inviting your referral partners and strategic partners. And then as a result, people are going to go, damn, Matthew is the guy. Like I like that guy. I'll buy a house from him, or I'll invest in him, or investment is going to go up as a result. So start maybe think. I hate to say should, and I hate to tell people what to do because your journey is your journey, and I don't want to deprive you of you going on a journey. I just want to give you some thoughts that might change your perspective a little bit in terms of how you're approaching that, right? And how you can take this method and really create impact more than just the one-off of dominating a market, right? Because I think that if you build your personal brand and you understand what it is that you're doing, your business will grow as a result immediately, right? So I hope that answered your question.
We got time for one more, Armando.
Okay, cool. Hi, thanks for sharing your interest journey. Congratulations on your success. I'm not ready for prime time podcast, but I will expand my social media outreach. Appreciate your valuable. Take care, Holly. Cool. Thank you. Had a show, Kingdom Speaks, on Facebook. It was good. I stopped a few years ago, wrote, directed, and produced gospel playwrights, but that was years ago. Everything is a little different now and don't fully understand how to operate a new way of doing things. Look, and you guys can reach out to me. And we can have these conversations. But in closing, the Kingdom Speaks on Facebook. I would go back and figure out why it is that you wanted to create that in the first place, right? Why did you want to do Kingdom Speaks, and what was the thing that was calling you to do that? And how can we use that to amplify a message as to why you created that in the first place, right? And maybe dig a little bit deeper as to the reason why. And then you might find that reason to be the thing. And then that thing you can continue just amplifying. And that is what people will know you for. And that's basically what we're trying to do. Is we're not trying to confuse people. We're trying to whittle it down and trim the fat. It's easy to be messy, right? Like it's easy to just have things everywhere. It's a lot harder to discern what it is that we need to cut out of our lives and prioritize in order to be effective. And so those are things that you really have to sit and ponder and pray about and write down and seek counsel on and find mentors that might be able to help you so that you can purge and you can marry ideas, because you can't do everything, right? And if you can start taking things away and purging and really compartmentalizing what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you're going to be a lot more effective. You're going to be a lot more happy. So, so really think about that one thing. Really think about like starting to trim the fat, because like I said, we can't do it. We can't do it all. And then once you guys start figuring those things out, then full blast, just go 120 miles an hour down that one thing. Great. I hope that makes sense. Please reach out to me with questions. I know if you guys have a lot. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to all of them today, but really do appreciate you guys being here. You guys could do anything with your time, and so time is super valuable, and I appreciate you guys spending time with me today. Yeah, let's get on a call, and I'll help answer those questions. Thank you guys so much. And I'm going to stop recording.